Okay, so we're going to show you how we add some details to our projects to make them look a little nicer, make them stand out a little bit, some trim. So we're going to cut up some trim to fill out this radiator cover. This is one style that I make. It has a top that pulls off. You have to drill a hole in the top or just cut little angles. And it's just basic pine framing lumber. And I make my own trim, and we'll show you how to do that. Also have this type of radiator cover. This is poplar, it's natural. So there's different styles you could use, but this is, probably the most common style right here. So we're going to show you how we set these up and make these projects stand out. Okay, so we're going to make some trim. We're going to use a roundover router, trim router. We're going to use this little cheap Bosch Colt. You can get this for like 80 to 100 bucks. So you can also use a router table, but we're going to be using this. This is a little roundover bit. We're going to be using an aggressive cut, so we have a little ridge to get a little design, and we're going to cut miters with this. So we're going to take these pieces of pine scrap, and these are a little thicker, wider as you can see, but we're going to use this to cut our trim, and then we're going to cut it in half to get our two pieces. And then we'll use the table saw. So it's a safer than to run these through a thin stock like this. I'd rather have a thicker stock. So we're going to use this, like I said, we're going to just use a little trim router. Let's go. So here we have our little pattern, and we could cut this on table saw now if we want, or we can even cut the other side and then cut it in half. It won't be too thin. So now we have our pieces routed. We're going to line this up with the table saw. This is going to be our template. So we're going to have it this thick. It's going to be about just under an inch thick, about 3/4. So we're going to run these through a table saw and cut these to this thick. So we'll set the fence to this, and then we'll run these through the other side. We'll cut these, and we'll keep the cut pattern and show, and then we'll lean that against the fence, run through, cut the excess off. The same for this one, and then we'll have the same dimensions, and then we'll start cutting these on the miter saw to get our miters. That's our template for our thickness on the table saw. So we'll put this against the blade, move our fence in. So I know that's our thickness. Lay it out. And now we'll have the show side against the fence. We'll cut the excess off. All right, so let's do that now. Okay, so we have our pieces cut. So now we can do like a nice little sanding, and then we're gonna, for this case, we're gonna primer and paint it before we put it on this radiator cover. So we're gonna use the radiator cover. We're gonna trim this out. So that's why we're doing this. So, but this is how you just make the trim, and we'll get into the rest. Actually, we could probably put it on without, and then because I'm gonna be painting this again anyway. But I want to primer this first, and then sand it. We're gonna sand it next. detail sander. We'll do a little more sanding, then we're going to prime and paint. Now, normally I can spray this, but for this video, I'm just going to wipe this on with a foam brush, just for the primer at least. Then we're going to spray the whole unit again with some paint. But for right now, I have paint in the sprayer, so I don't feel like setting up the Graco or the HVLP for primer. So we're just going to wipe it on with a foam brush. And also, this is just showing you the easiest way to do this and cheapest way to do it. You don't need a big expensive paint sprayer or fancy tools. Really just a router, a saw, and I'm going to get into the saw thing in a couple minutes. You don't even need a miter saw technically, but it definitely helps. And a table saw is great, obviously, if you could cut down your stock. But if you could find thinner stock, you don't even do that. You can find 1-inch stock and just do it. But I'm just using what I have. So just from a money financial standpoint, it makes it a little cheaper. That's all. All right, so we're going to prime this with a foam brush, and then we're going to let it dry. We're going to do a scuff sand in it, then we'll do another coat, and then we'll paint. Okay, I'm just going to wipe this on with a little foam brush here. Get these for like $1 or even less. Spraying would be a little quicker, but for this process, setting up the sprayer and everything that has paint in already would just take too long. And also, it's not as realistic too if you're a DIYer and you're just trying to get something done kind of quick. So you don't have to paint two sides of this, essentially. Since the other sides will be flush to the surface of the cover. So we're going to do one coat, let it dry, then we're going to do scuff sanding, which will give you a nicer finish when you paint, whether you're spray, wiping, brushing, or whatever. You always want to do a nice little scuff sanding. Not to overcomplicate it. Like I said, you could do this in about an hour of your day and just let your project stand out, I think, in my opinion. Not that these are, perfect. But I think it's ups the level, ups your game on your woodworking. Get this primer on. Let this piece dry. Voila, we have one piece done. Do a little scuff sanding. First thing, I do one more coat of primer, and then I do a coat of paint, at least one top coat. I'll probably just spray that on, depending on how this goes. All right, let's do one more coat of primer. Let's wipe this off. Freezer. Oh, that's right. Just seltzer. Like I said, we don't cover this backside. And the bottom. We'll hit it. There's like streaking, just so we keep it nice and level. I mean, I think a spray lays nicer, but these foam brushes, it lays pretty good. All right, let that sit. touch it up. All right, we'll let them sit now for a little bit. Okay, so now our primer's dry. We did our scuff sandings. Now we're just going to spray a little wall and trim, or door and cabinet trim paint. This is ultra white. Do a little wipe with it too, just to smear it in better. And we'll just do a coat of this, and then we'll start cutting it up. Okay, so now we're going to just trim out this cover here, just to give it a little design. That's about it. So we're just going to, like I said, trim this out, some miters with the trim that we just created. The paint is dry now, so now we're going to start mitering these, and then kind of fit these in, sneaking up on them, and we'll just brad nail them in. And it'll just give it like a nice little touch to it. We'll fill this gap in a little bit too, but also it will cover up any imperfections, but also it just looks nice. Just lets your work stand out. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to set our saw here to 45 degree. Right there, and then we'll start making our first cuts. So we kind of want it to sit bottom and top, so we want to kind of just sit up like that. So we'll make the first cut. That's what we'll start. We'll start with the bottoms and tops. All right, now we'll use this for our template. So now we'll take our stop block, set this. I'm going to keep it a little heavy on the cut, that way we can sneak up on it. Stop block set, so now make our cuts. Just to make it easier to follow template, we'll just turn this to 45 degree this way. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Line this up. Okay, so they're just laying in there right now. Now we're going to throw a couple brad nails in. And then we're going to do another coat of paint. We'll cover the holes. We're going to paint the whole thing one more time. We're not going to get too detailed with that. I just want to show you how the trim looks. So now we're going to lay it out the other side and then brad nail them in. They should be pretty seamless at the joints here. Right now they're just laying in there. So we'll tighten them up. Alright, throw a couple brad nails in. So that's nice and tight, this joint. Here. And down the bottom here, just gotta make sure it's nice and tight. Alright. Then we'll just throw a little paint over this. Fill these holes in. A little putty, and then we'll just tap it up a little paint. We're going to paint all this anyway, again. Alright.